really quickly because I was talking to Alon Lee Green, who is a part of Omdim Be'achad. I think I said that right. Who has been talking about this quite a bit. He is he is in Israel. He's an Israeli activist who is an end the occupation activist in Israel. And he actually showed one of the where is it? Here, I'll just show you this really quickly. I'll explain this to you. For those of you who don't understand, here it is. This is Dr. Abed Samara from Hasharon Hospital, who has invested his entire life in the Israeli health system. He has been treating Jews and Arabs wholeheartedly for years, but in one moment his life collapses. He is fired, accused of supporting terrorism and siding with Hamas. The reality is the opposite. But does the truth even matter? Okay? So this is something that I've tried to stress before, that there are people inside of Israel, obviously marginal for the most part and marginalized in general, that have dedicated their lives to ending the occupation. There are activist groups that have dedicated their lives into ending the occupation. Their voices, unfortunately, do not ever get heard. Okay? And now their voices are criminalized. Okay? Their voices are now literally criminalized. Understand something. It is criminal. Omdim Be'achad translates to standing together. They're a peace movement, and the police constantly take down their pro-peace posters. Their demonstrations have been violently suppressed, even before and certainly after the last siege on Gaza. So this lady, according to her family, is she's not a part of this group, but she has helped transfer Palestinians out of Gaza into Israeli hospitals in the past. People that do stuff like that, of course, are going to recognize the humanity of Palestinians and are going to have a very different perspective on the matter than those who are championing blood and soil narratives thousands of miles away. Okay? So we're going to talk about this account, and we're going to talk about the way that the Western media has covered it thus far. Ms. Lifshitz said she was marched through a network of subterranean tunnels under Gaza that she likened to a spider web. She said that she was later treated relatively well, offering the first public account to emerge from the more than 200 hostages estimated to be held by Hamas and other armed groups in Gaza. Here's the former Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid and his address to global media, which we saw a quote from. Okay? This is from a couple days prior. This is from 4 days ago, I guess, or maybe it's an older speech. I'm not entirely certain, but we'll look at that in a second as well. I went through hell, Ms. Lifshitz told reporters the day after her release, sitting in a wheelchair at a hospital in Tel Aviv amid a thicket of microphones. She was freed along with Nurit Cooper, 79, on Monday, and transferred from Hamas custody to Israeli forces via the International Committee for Red Cross in Egypt. Both of their husbands are still being held hostage in Gaza. Okay? When nobody gives a shit about your life, 75 years, the most humanist Palestinians start not giving a shit about enemy civilian deaths. I'm a Palestinian. Okay, dude, shut the fuck up. I feel like there's going to be more and more people coming in here to be like, I'm a Palestinian, and I think all Israelis should be murdered, just so some other fucking dickheads can clip it and then turn around and be like, wow, look at Hasan. He loves this kind of rhetoric. Notice that. Shut the fuck up. Her account of the tunnels offered a glimpse of the difficulties facing Israel as it weighs whether and how to launch a ground invasion of Gaza to eliminate Hamas, which led to devastating October 7 attacks against Israel. Hamas has built a labyrinth of underground passages in Gaza for its fighters, military analysts said, complicating both Israelis' anticipated ground invasion and any attempt to rescue the hostages. Ms. Lifshitz's voice at times faltered as she recalled her abduction and the horrors suffered by her neighbors when Hamas attacked her town of Kibbutz near Oz. Her daughter, Sharon, who was crouched at her side on Tuesday, occasionally translated for foreign journalists. Many people stormed our homes. They beat people. Some of them they abducted like me, Ms. Lifshitz said. It made no difference. They abducted the elderly and the young. This is important to understand because it's not like she's not explaining the situation in a specific direction. She is just giving her firsthand accounts. Like this is constant with the immediate interviews that were conducted inside of kibbutzim, inside of the people that survived the attacks in the kibbutzim, where they would very openly be like, these are Hamas terrorists that came, but then they would talk about their experiences that contradicted some of the testimony. Now, if you're saying on the one hand that they're terrorists, like you obviously aren't, you're obviously not like doing propaganda for Hamas in the same way that like a lot of people will immediately rush to claim. It's not like she's fucking pro Hamas, okay? In my memory, I have these images all the time, she added later. She said her kidnappers hauled her onto a motorcycle and beat her painfully in the ribs, making it hard for her to breathe, and also took away her watch. They drove off through the fields surrounding near Oz. They took her through a network of tunnels until they reached a large hall where about 25 people were, she said. After about 2 to 3 hours, they separated 5 people from her kibbutz into their own room where they were overseen by guards and a medic, she said. Ms. Lifshitz said that she and others were relatively well taken care of, given medicine and the same food as their captors. Fearing disease, her captors worked to sanitize the area, she said, and doctors would visit sporadically to check on them. They treated us gently and fulfilled all of our needs, she said. Hamas has released 4 hostages, including Judith and Natalie Ra'anan, American Israeli citizens who were freed last week. Ms. Lifshitz is the first released hostage to speak publicly about her ordeal. Ms. Lifshitz's husband, Oded, an Israeli journalist and peace activist, remains in Hamas captivity, according to Israeli authorities. The Hamas-led attacks against Israel's border communities shocked and traumatized the country. Israel has repeatedly fought short battles with Palestinian militants in Gaza in recent years, but nothing approaching the scale and brutality of the assault. Ms. Lifshitz at times criticized the Israeli military, saying that it and the Shin Bet domestic security service had ignored warning signs of the threat to towns near Gaza. The Israeli military's chief of staff acknowledged after the attacks that the military had failed to live up to its own mission to protect Israel's citizens. It's so strange. How strange that people who are directly victimized by this attack, people who are inside of Israel on the Israeli security forces, the interior security, the FBI of Israel, they all are collectively saying the same things that I've been saying to you for a very long time now, okay? Weeks before the assault, Palestinians had rioted and fired explosive balloons near the Gaza border fence, sparking fires in southern Israel, Ms. Lifshitz said. The Israeli army didn't take this seriously, she said. Anyway. The UN is live debating the ceasefire negotiations and whatnot, but I wanted to show this to you so you get a better understanding of the situation. Here, we'll play the whole thing.
Leonid?
Not only will we play this whole thing, but I also want to show you. We'll play this whole thing, but I also want to show you the. I want you to listen carefully to her words, but I also want to show you some of the reaction to this internally. An Israeli news network immediately came out and spoke against her testimony, saying that this was playing into the hands of Hamas and it was propaganda for Hamas. It was pro-Hamas propaganda. I mean, this is a person who literally has been kidnapped. Okay, apprehension of this sort is going to be violent regardless. The translation here is horrible. I mean, the Sky News translation is different. Israel Minister of Foreign Affairs says, I will not meet with the UN Secretary General. After October 7th massacre, there is no place for a balanced approach. Hamas must be erased off the face of the planet. That's what he said after the UN Secretary General said things that I have said here as well. Just normal, subdued, tempered reactions that offer context as to how things have happened. Okay, offer context as to how the violence that the Israeli citizens experienced was not violence that happened in a fucking vacuum. That is a of course, understandable and nuanced approach to the subject matter. I know that there are a lot of people out there who desperately want to act like that materialized out of thin air and that it did not. It was the first time. It was totally unprecedented. Well, it was unprecedented, but it was totally unprovoked. But that is not the case. Okay? It is insane to me. It is insane to me that anything that cuts through the unconditional support for Israel, the uncritical and unconditional support for Israel as it engages in its ongoing ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza, is seen as like Hamas propaganda, and you can't say it, and fuck you. It doesn't matter if it's truthful. How dare you say such a thing? You are engaging in propaganda for these violent, barbaric terrorists, and you should let us do whatever the fuck we need to do here. You should shut the fuck up. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So, if anyone has the Sky News footage, because I want to watch the whole thing, we can get into that. Am I the only one who hears that the Israeli government asked for the UNSG to resign and remembers the images of the Japanese delegation leaving the Society of Nations? League of Nations? No one has told Hasan. It's just not the time to talk about it, right? The conflict, not the time to talk about it? Wait, what? This is just one of many clips. I want the full one.
She was handed to the International Red Cross Committee. She took the hand of a Hamas gunman and she said,
people writing not the time to talk about it might be drama farming. I don't know what you're saying. Like I don't know what that means. I don't know what is going on. Is drama? Ignore it? Okay. Oh, fucking so silly.
The question is, why did you shake that Hamas activist hand when you crossed? Because they treated us very nicely. My mom is saying that they were very delicate and gentle with them and took care of all their needs. They seemed really prepared for it. They had concealed it for a long time, and they took care of all the needs that women need: shampoo, conditioner. Did they tell you anything about what was happening outside?
No, that's the I-24 one, and I'm sorry, I don't like. Sky News is a right-wing outlet too, but I-24 is the main outlet that ran with the 40 babies were ruthlessly beheaded by Hamas. That was the first article that came out and said 40 babies had their heads cut off by Hamas. So why are you cutting her? I'm not. I'm trying to find I'm trying to personally find the uncut broadcast, especially because according to Haaretz, I-24 News is so pro Netanyahu to secure broadcast license that they are not going to have possibly the best translators. Okay? That's it. That's the major reason. Here. I have to pee. But I also am running the top of the hour ad break, which I forgot to run earlier. Hold on.
ילידת הארץ. אני מודה לכם שבאתם לשמוע את הטרגדיה שלי ושל כל חבריי. היה קשה, ונקווה לעבור את זה. אני אחזור על הדברים, אז אם את תדבר איתי, אמא אמרה שהיא ילידת. אמא מודה לכם שבאתם היום, ואומרת שהיא ילידת הארץ, ילידת 1938. לומר לכם את האמת, עברתי תופת שלא חשבנו ולא ידענו שנגיע למצב הזה. והם השתוללו אצלנו בקיבוץ, אותי חטפו, השכיבו אותי על אופנוע, על הצד, וכל הזמן וטסו איתי בשדות החרושים לכיוון חיר וחזק. הם פוצצו את הגדר שבה...
This is not translated. The one fucking video that we found is not translated. I'm gonna lose my goddamn mind, dude. Oh, fuck. Where did you go? We need you to translate. Dude, I don't know how to speak Hebrew. What do you mean? Hasan, this is super minor, but as a Palestinian, I want you to know you're mispronouncing Hamas in the very particular way that Israeli officials mispronounce it. It's not a ch sound. I didn't say Hamas. I said Hamas. Hamas. The daughter is translating, I thought.
בנו גדר אלקטרונית מיוחדת ב$2.5 מיליארד, והיא לא עזרה כלום. וההמונים הסתערו על הבתים שלנו, עיקו אנשים, חלק הם חטפו, כמוני חטפו. לא היה הבדל אם יחטפו קשישים או צעירים, וזה היה מהלך מאוד מאוד כואב ומחזיר. אחר כך הם הביאו אותנו לפתח של מערות, בדרך ששכבתי על האופן.
Yeah, the most complete one is the Sky News one, I think. Yeah, we'll do that. I'll go into my Wait, where is it?
This report.
It's okay. Let's go.
With a handshake and a goodbye to her Hamas captors. Yocheved Lifshitz and Nurit Cooper crossed the border into Egypt after 17 days held hostage in Gaza. They were taken back to safety in Israel by the International Red Cross. This morning at the hospital in Tel Aviv, where they're recovering, 85-year-old Yocheved told her story.
My mom is saying that she was taken on the back of a motorbike with her body, with her legs on one side and her heart on another side. That she was taken through the plowed fields with a man in front on one side and a man behind her. And that while she was being taken, she was hit by sticks.
There were people there who took care of all the needs. We can say that to their credit. And they made sure that we will be clean and eat.
Yocheved's husband, Oded, is still being kept hostage. She said that they were split up and held separately in Gaza.
Our hopes from our father and for all the hostages is that they will come home safely.
They didn't show anything. What the fuck? Why can't we find a decent translation of the full uninterrupted, like 20-minute press conference? It sucks that the most complete one is literally from I-24, which is known to be not a credible, credible outlet, considering that they were the first to say 40 babies were beheaded. I don't want to watch an Al Jazeera one either, because the Al Jazeera one is only featuring 2 minutes. I want the entire, I want the full blown, the entire conversation. I want her whole testimony.
שכבתי על הצד, רגליים פה והגוף פה, אז השב"ב בדרך מכות איתו אותי, אז הם לא שברו את הצלעות, אבל הכאיבו לאזור הזה מאוד, וזה הקשה לי מאוד על הנשימה.
Here's the Zionist talking points to rebuff her statement. I already saw that. He literally acknowledged that he was wrong. He said it was outrageous to see post that misinterpret the video of the 85-year-old freed hostage Yocheved Lifshitz shaking the hand of her armed and masked captor as a sign of somehow as if the hostages were treated well. This guy literally openly admits later down that I'm happy someone brought my attention to this. What do you want? Her husband is still captive. She talks about the others being captive. The woman, when released, looked to me tired, a tad confused, and with the tough skin and temperament of a kibbutznik. I also want to correct my first tweet. The question is not if she was treated well, but rather if they were humane. Hamas and not Palestinians, of course. No, they are not humane. Many on her kibbutz were massacred. She witnessed horrific crimes. Really, people, a little respect. People can read her testimony here. A sharp woman who describes her painful days in captivity. This is from Haaretz. You can be the judge. It seems her comments also reveal how this was a well-planned attack to capture hostages. Except that Haaretz article, I read it earlier this morning, and that Haaretz article actually featured a lot of her testimony that directly cuts against what she is trying to say, what he is trying to say, sorry, which is that her treatment was very humane in the hands of the Hamas militants, contrary to the expectations, contrary to what people normally hear and see of Hamas. This does not change the reality of the October 7th attacks and how many people were slaughtered, murdered, okay? But the reality is that, like, this person popped off super quickly and then didn't even delete it and just kind of tried to dial it back while still maintaining the same position. Link to the Sky News stream. If you go to 10:20 in the beginning of the stream, you get the full press coverage.
To come here today to announce, not that the government has cut the number of hotels being used, but that it simply plans to, and by a paltry 12%. Is that really it?
My mom is saying that she was...
Here.
Just the night, which we'll have more from in due course, did suggest that hostages would be released if Israel stops bombing. Very much in a difficult position at this moment, though, to establish more than that. Let's listen now.
She's telling the horrific stories. She's saying that many people, a swarm of people came through the fence. The defense cost 2.5 billion shekels, and it didn't help even a little bit. My mom is saying that she was taken on the back of a motor.
It doesn't matter if it was humane. They killed and raped hundreds of teens. There is no redemption for Hamas. Brother, October 7 was brutal. It was gruesome. It was horrific. Stick to the actual facts of the matter without just going along with information that has not been confirmed at all by even Israeli authorities. Okay? You do not have to jump to racist canards. This does not mean that it did not happen. It simply means I have yet to see any verified information other than source Ben Shapiro What the fuck are you saying?
With her body, with her legs on one side and her heart on another side, that she was taken through the plowed fields with a man in front on one side and a man behind her, and that while she was being taken, she was hit by sticks by Shapiro.
Do you say okay, and he's a reliable source? Ben Shapiro is a reliable source? Ben Shapiro? Okay, you're being satirical. Got it. Okay, I was gonna say Ben Shapiro, who like lives in fucking Florida. Okay, is not a reliable source.
Yeah, Shabab people. Until they reached the tunnels